The United States calls itself the richest country in the world, but right now, 42 million Americans are scheduled to lose their food benefits for the month of November. Tell me, what kind of developed nation does that to its people? 1 in 8 Americans rely on SNAP benefits in order to feed themselves and their families. And when politicians can take that food security away with just a stroke of a pen, that is not about policy, that is about control. In the ideal world, everyone would be able to afford food and have access to food. But that is not the system that we live in the US right now. A lot of people are facing poverty. The wealth gap is ginormous. And the answer to that problem is not cutting off food stamps. People deserve to eat and have food. And we do not live in a society where everyone is able to grow their own food because we have turned into this industrialized nation where we work in order to buy food. And we do not know how to feed ourselves anymore. We don't have access to that ability. So because we've given away that human right to be able to grow our own food and feed ourselves and our families in our communities, we rely on the system to help take care of us if we need it. And the system, the United States, is failing its citizen. People are going to focus on whatever aligns with their values. If you think that this is a good thing because people who don't deserve food stamps are going to lose their benefits and that's a good thing, and our tax money, you don't want your tax money going to give out these government handouts and people should pull themselves up by their bootstraps and learn to take care of themselves, that's what you're going to focus on. But the fact is that there are children that are going to go hungry. There are seniors that are going to ration their food and skip meals and not be able to eat because they don't have any other support system around them. There's going to be disabled people that can't work and rely on these systems. And we are losing our humanity. You could divide this up and think about it in a million different ways and pick it apart. But the big picture is that our system is not set up to support a lot of people to be able to feed themselves and their families. Whatever the reason is, there's a million of them. We are relying on corporations to bring us food and for us to be able to go to work and make the money in order to buy that food instead of growing that food ourselves. I got a comment on my last video about how not everyone can go off grid and grow their own food. And that is correct. Not everyone wants to go and grow their own food and feed themselves. But the point is that communities used to do that together. That's a very individualistic American mindset to think that I have to provide for myself and my family totally and completely without relying on other people and working together in a community. That is how humans are supposed to work. They're supposed to work together. You're not supposed to have to totally and completely rely on yourself to support yourself. The problem is that we've just gotten too big as a country to be able to work on that small scale community where we know everybody and we have a connection to the people that we're helping and that we're taking care of. We're just so disconnected from where our tax money is going. And we also don't trust our government to be able to give it out in the appropriate way, which is totally valid. I don't trust our government either. Look at what they're doing right now. It's so personal to me because we are from rural Appalachia. We are from, some of the most impoverished places in the country. And I personally know people who are going to deeply suffer from this. Entire communities are going to suffer. And there's no one to really turn to within those communities. We personally are going to do what we can to help. We will feed as many people as we can. We have friends and family who we know would not eat if we don't help. So everyone really needs to do that. And we don't just need to do that in this situation, maybe the food stamps will end up going through. Maybe they'll figure it out. Even if people do end up getting their food stamps, the trauma that is felt from this deep fear of insecurity is not something to be messed around with. It's not, this should not be a pawn. It just makes me really sad that there are senior citizens sitting at home alone right now who don't know how they're going to feed themselves if they don't get their food stamps. They're already living on Social Security, which is barely enough to, pay for anything. They've already given up so much. The whole reason that I'm talking about this and bringing this up, I know that it's negative and it's happening anyway. Whether I talk about it or not, this is happening and it is affecting millions of people. Millions of people in the US are going to suffer if they do not receive their food benefits. It's going to cause fear and division, and people are going to blame other people, and it's only going to make things worse. But we need to talk about it and we need to become aware of it because together we can fix it. I get a lot of questions about, well, what can we do to fix the system? You can't do anything to fix the system. You can only fix yourself on an individual level. What can you do as an individual to make things better for yourself and your neighbors, your community, the people that you affect on a daily basis, yourself? What can you do within yourself to improve? Gandhi has a quote that is, be the change you want to see in the world. And that's all you can do. How do you want other people to treat you? How would you want your community to support you if you were, a senior that couldn't go to work and was losing their food benefits? If you are able to help your neighbors and help your community, do that. Check on people and make sure that they're okay. Donate to the food bank if you can. And if you are somebody who is struggling with food insecurity and you don't know where your food is going to come from if they take away your food stamps, that is, I know what that feels like. It's just, listen, people are going to do whatever it takes in order to feed their family, and they should. And that's not always what's in the best interest of community. Like if your kids are hungry and you're hungry, you might go and loot a store or steal food or, fight people in order to meet your most very basic need. That is an outcome that could potentially happen and will happen on a small scale. So we are a family that lives on a really low income, and we struggled with food in the US. And I have done a lot of videos on meals that are really low cost, grocery hauls, and all of that. I have a whole playlist because I know that food is so important to not just your basic survival, but also just your mental ability to stay positive and optimistic. If you're hungry, if you don't have your very basic needs met, man, you can't really do much else other than just survive. So you can check out that playlist up here. I've done dozens and dozens of videos. Don't be ashamed to go to food banks. Don't be ashamed to ask for help. More people will help you than you realize if they just know that you need help. And don't be ashamed to admit that, because the cost of living is crazy. Food prices are crazy. So many people are struggling. Remember, 1 in 8 Americans rely on food stamps in order to feed their families. More and more people are falling into the lower income bracket. It's not something to be ashamed of. You're not failing. It's the system that is creating these problems on an exponential level. So ask for help if you need it. For some more practical advice, think of high calorie foods. Listen, we're from rural Appalachia, and some of these old ways of eating might seem unhealthy from a standard American diet, but they take you back to the basics of focus on high fat, high protein meals that are going to keep you full for longer and really nourish your body. You know, when you're buying lower calorie foods, you have to eat a lot more of them. So focus on some higher calorie, healthy food. That's another end result of when people are not eating enough, then they're going to have health problems. More health problems are going to arise when you cut people off of food. So I really hope that people can come together and use this as a time for unity instead of division. We need to see the humanity in everybody. We need to support each other, and we don't need to fall into the trap of blaming other people for the issues that are going on. This really needs to be used as a wake-up call to all of us to be aware of how much control and how much power our government has on us. This isn't just about food stamps. If they can take a basic survival need away from millions of people, what else can they take away from us? What else do they control? What's next? I don't have the ultimate solution, but I do know that on an individual level, we can make change. We can come together. We can support each other. We can support ourselves. We can make changes in our lives that lessen the blow of what could happen in the future.